From freefincal. Today let's talk about investing in real estate for passive income after retirement. Perhaps rental income is the oldest form of passive income, and it's been around for centuries. I've tried to find the oldest date. I couldn't, so let me try harder. But in the meantime, let's talk about this. And obviously real estate has a charm. It's that everybody dreams of a piece of land that they want to own and they want to live in and so on, but we're not talking about real estate for self-occupation. Beyond that, real estate as an investment where you buy a second piece of property or land or whatever and you want to rent it out, and you also dream about the appreciation in value. So we've been talking about passive income quite a bit in the last few videos, and we also talked about the ideal retirement portfolio in the last video. And one possible component was rental income as a passive income source in the retirement basket. Obviously, if you have some inherited property that you already have, or you think that you're going to inherit in future because your parents are going to die or something like that, by the time you retire, your parents would not be there, and therefore you would inherit. That's what I mean. Then obviously it's a great way to lower the corpus that you need for retirement. And in fact, if you use the freefincal robot wisely template, you will be able to put in 3 sources of income that you can take into account today itself and lower your retirement corpus. For example, you can take a pension, your retirement income. You can even factor in the rate at which that rental income, not retirement income, rental income. You can even factor in the rate at which that rental income would increase and so on. So obviously, if it's inherited property, it's a great thing. Nobody's going to say no to it. The question is, should you actually invest in some property and allocate it as a passive income source after retirement? The problem with that is, anybody who does a proper retirement calculation or a proper goal-based investing calculation will recognize they have very little money left to buy any kind of real estate, even sometimes for self-occupation. So that would be the first thing that you do. First, take care of your goals, take care of your retirement, your children's future, etc. And when you do that, you would have very little money, and automatically the question of investing in real estate. Please recognize, when you buy a house to live in, that's not an investment, because it's a product you're consuming, and therefore you can't think of that as having any kind of net worth unless and until you actually decide to sell. So basically you won't have any money left, and therefore that's that. Now the second problem is that there is a huge emotional baggage associated with real estate. And I know people who go after rental income, but when they actually want the money to supplement their their income and pay for their increased expenses, I know as many as 6 families who have real estate, and actually some of those properties are vacant. They've been locked up for months and months, but they don't want to sell because they're emotional about it. They want to leave it as a legacy to their children and so on. That's the big problem with this real estate, because even if you assume your property will appreciate, unless you are actually in a position to sell, what does it matter how much it appreciates? Because it's all notional, right? You're not going to sell. Who cares what the square feet rate is currently at that place? It's just it makes no sense. That's the big problem. Unlike investments in fixed deposits or stocks or mutual funds or gold, there is a big resistance to sell real estate, because somebody will come and say, your children may come and say, Appa, Amma, don't sell your property because you will not get it back. I will not get such property again. I will take care of you. Give me the property. That kind of things can happen. So circumstances can change. Whether giving them the property is right or wrong is another matter. We don't know the consequences of that. So it's a very complex problem. And the problem is, people are always claiming property value will always increase. Well, okay, let it always increase, or at the very least, let's assume it will not fall down like a stock and not plummet. the rate of appreciation is practically unknown. We just don't know what it is. It could be as much as a SB account. This could be a fixed deposit. It's not always going to be some multi-bagger. Just because it has been a multi-bagger in the past, it's not going to be a multi-bagger follower. The same logic as stocks, right? I mean, you can say a stock is a multi-bagger when it has grown from a small cap stock to a large cap stock. But once it becomes a large cap stock, it's no longer going to be a multi-bagger. It's going to give you more or less moderate returns. That's probably what's going to happen from now on in real estate. We don't know. And we always have my uncle did that, my auntie did that, this kind of anecdotal evidence. We don't have any kind of market data associated with real estate. Now, if you think about the actual math, only now you should. Typically, if you buy, the EMI for that property would be almost 3 times the rent you will get from that property, and the rental yields would be pretty much low. They'll be pretty much like a SBI savings bank account interest rate. That would be the kind of rental yields that you get. Rental yield means annual rent divided by the perceived value of the property. It's always a perceived value because nobody knows what the actual value is. It's just because there's no market value. There's no collective force that determines the price. That's the problem. If you go and ask one dealer, they will say something else. If you go and ask some other guy, they will say something else. It's just too arbitrary. So with all this, then you will have this loan which is 3 times your rental income. Then you have to, some people will try and pre-close that loan. Then that'll lose, that'll be a further loss because of the time value of money. If you let the loan at least for some time, the loss would be lower. So there are simply so many problems with it, and getting a tenant is a problem. I know many people, many properties, I mean, for example, forget the general situation. During this lockdown, I had put a post saying that rental income for my brother-in-law and my wife's property, which they inherited, that income has stopped for a few months. I found almost 60 comments in Asan Adesawal saying the same thing. So it's like if there's a recession like this, there's going to be a problem, and we can't depend too much on it. And there are just too many issues with the rental income. Is it really worth getting a loan and buying a property just for getting passive income? It just makes no sense. Of course, if you are inheriting it, there's no problem. If you have so much money that you have taken care of all your goals, you have so much extra money that you can buy the property without a loan, then why are you even subscribing to this channel, right? I mean, that's not, you should be because you are at a different level, you would be doing something else. For practically everybody watching this channel, watching this video, if you want to invest in real estate, you have to take a loan, and that just makes no sense at all. Bye-bye.